I'm listening.
No mistakes.
How may I help?
Patricium Turinos! Patricio Turinos! Patricium Turinos!
I am prepared. Ready for anything?
Share your troubles.
What's taking so long?
I know what to do.
Something bothering you?
Time's not waiting. Focus on the goal.
Be on guard.
You think not of
My hound. You have run so long to finally meet your mistress. Now,
Not dead yet. Good. You get it.
Tio, Lomas, Tio, Lomas, Tio, Lomas.
Let us strike as one! Do not hold back!
Taste my fury. This is going to hurt.
Cannot hide from me.
Tear them apart!
Patricio Turinos!
nowhere to run.
They go down!
My kingdom. I looked for it for such a long time. So long that I forgot why I needed it. But you, what does justice mean in matters of the soul? In the games of great powers, in the beating of a living heart? It's just a word, and nothing more. If that's all that moves you, then forget it. I don't need this gift. Is this mercy? Or a cruel joke that I do not understand? Let it be. I accept your gift. I'll go to the trial of the eldest and give them the apology.
You've pleased me, King of the Sand Castle. Now that the performance is almost over, we can take off our masks. Though I'll be sad to part with them. I am a voice from another world that you've heard since you first set foot on the Stolen Lands. A harbinger of doom and change. I am dust and echo, a memory of the past. I am the one who revealed to you the truth about the fallen goddess, who gave you the light capable of dispersing the mist.
I am the one who began this story, and I am the one who will end it. I am the eldest of the First World. I am your Lantern King.
Self-appointed god of the First World. Wasn't it enough for you to witness the hardships to which Nyrissa doomed innocent people? All because of your curse? Leave us alone!
You, a creature from the morning. You are just one of thousands of waves born in an ocean of my creatures. Then you will know. So go, return to your fragile house, live in the moon's void. Forget about the nymph Nyrissa and the matters of the First World. It's the most precious thing I can give to you. Then I shall press on. The finale of my play draws near.
Don't hesitate. As you order.
Bring it before us as an offering, so that an eldest may sip from it, the curse said. Having filled the cup, Nyrissa appeared before the gods of the First World. That was when the Lantern King played another joke. He announced that the nymph, cursed for her attempt to become one of the eldest, would now get to be one. The eldest of dust and trampled hope, doomed to drink from her own cup and suffer terrible pain. Well, everyone got what they wanted. We got a peaceful kingdom, Nyrissa got her status as an eldest, and the Lantern King got a finale to his horrific performance. Now that the eldest and other spiteful beings wouldn't be bothering us, the king returned to his subjects and celebrated the victory and the end of the kingdom's miseries with great fanfare. Everything gradually returned to normal, including our exciting lives. Not always peaceful, but also not troubled by invasions from another world. And little by little, our heroes and the common folk began to forget the sorrows of the past. Sadly, the numerous misfortunes that befell the king took their toll on the stolen lands. Matters left to luck and state problems left unattended meant the stolen lands would remain a lawless realm. It turns out you can't be both a great hero and a successful ruler at the same time. Or the hero of this story couldn't, at least. The feud between Brevois North and South, which had been smoldering for ages, finally sparked the fires of civil war. Our troops lent aid to the forces of Reskov, led by Sword Lord Jamandi Aldori. After several bloody battles, House Sertova was forced to recognize Reskov's independence. The victory came at a high price, but we have no more loyal ally than once more free Rostland. Kasil Aldori, who lost an arm during the war, became a permanent ambassador of Rostland at our court. Led by careful, level-headed Dugoth, the Tiger Lord's tribe reunited and started to lick the wounds left by the erratic Armagh. Little by little, they once again became one of the strongest mercenary armies in the region. Dugoth always assured our king of his friendship, but the king always stayed on his toes, understanding that anything could happen when that old fox is around. Pitax almost returned to its former state, a joyful city filled with beers of dubious quality and deals of questionable legality. The old trade houses lost the crown, but they retrieved the property Iravetti had taken from them. Soon, Pitax became almost like a second capital in the kingdom, a thriving city through which rivers of money from across the region ran. Unfortunately, we get much less of this money than we would like. Governor Liachenza turned out to be helpless against widespread embezzlement. Maestro Bellavara gave the Academy of the Arts a second wind. Throwing out mediocre students and sycophants, she gathered within its walls talented visionaries, rebels, and freethinkers, those whose gifts felt cramped within the walls of more respectable institutions. She managed to do what Iravetti never could, namely, make the Academy truly famous, albeit scandalously so. And so what if, instead of odes to the king, the Academy releases sneering pamphlets and revolutionary leaflets? It only helps his reputation as a true patron of the arts. Trolls and kobolds, two of the most savage native peoples living in the Gnarl Marches, were completely exterminated in the region. The forest paths became much safer, and the peasants' cattle have stopped going missing. After enduring so many storms and troubles, Varnhold eventually turned into a real city. Daring settlers decided to conquer the vast, wild expanses of Dunsword, and despite all odds, they succeeded. The modest colony that almost vanished at the hands of an ancient lich turned everything around to become a thriving city with lively river trading. Agay, the Spriggan leader, learned a valuable lesson after surviving his meeting with the king and even regaining his tribe's home. Don't try to occupy seemingly empty settlements anymore. Instead, the Spriggans settled across Dunsword's wild borderlands and proclaimed it as their domain. Keeping the peace in a situation like that seems like the stuff of dreams, as evidenced by the occasional lost patrols and stolen cattle. After the kobolds and mites disappeared, the empty caves beneath the old sycamore quickly became home to all kinds of disgusting critters. Giant centipedes being the most innocent and pleasant of them. Attempts have been made to clear out the caves, but it never takes long for something to take up residence again. In the end, the decision was made to block the entrances and burn the giant tree down, destroying the roots that held up the ceiling of the caves. Oleg's trading post continues to thrive, attracting even more travelers. Much to its owner's displeasure, a small town is springing up around it. Despite Oleg's grumbling, he and his wife are well regarded by everyone, and Svetlana was even elected town chief. Making sure her sister was safe, the former bandit Kressel traveled south. Her trail went cold somewhere in Absalom's docks. They say she changed her name again and now serves on a trade ship, hiding from old acquaintances. Jod remained loyal to the king to the end of his days, healing the sick and generously sharing his austere wisdom with anyone who wished to hear it, and some who didn't. Having fulfilled his duty to the ruler, Eraskel's priest peacefully departed this world, surrounded by friends and disciples. The lizard folk of the Longtail tribe returned to live on the shores of Candlemere, but they couldn't return to their ancient way of life. Living alongside people, the lizard folk adopted their behaviors, habits, and even religion. More and more of the Longtail tribe pray not to the spirits of their ancestors, but to Erastil or Gorum. They even began to forget their original language. I hope someone writes down their songs and legends before they all sink into oblivion. The Sweet Teeth departed on a journey, hoping to see as many wonders as possible of this world and others. They keep sending us news from every corner of the map. Their bright painted wagon, drawn by a bull mastodon, crisscrosses Galarian, somehow appearing in the center of one incredible story after another. Evindra was glad to see the Lantern King's plans turn to dust. She spent some time helping restore the kingdom after the calamity, then returned home to the First World. They say the rebellious spirit of her cousin Nyrissa awoke within her as well. Evindra is said to recount our story to the Fae, encouraging them to question the power and might of the eldest. After the victory, the storyteller abandoned his affairs and began spending a lot of time alone in contemplation. He eventually bid farewell to the king and left his lands, but I suspect the inhabitants of Galarian haven't heard the last of this mysterious traveler, for his own story is hardly finished. Amiri remained a pariah to her native tribe, but she stayed close friends with Nylak, who ruled the Six Bears wisely and taught them to survive in the unfamiliar plains and cities. The restless barbarian would often travel for long stretches of time, but sooner or later she would always return to her old friends, bragging about new scars and recounting new feats, many of which Nylak immortalized in song. Harrim became famous, respected by dwarves throughout our kingdom as well as our neighbors, even as far as the Five Kings Mountains. He's often been asked to help out or teach others, and he's never denied anyone, despite his grumbling. Some people even listen to his preaching. Lucky for us, there's a lot less howling about the end of the world now, and more wise words of moderation and humility. Not all of his disciples turned to Grotus, but everyone took away something useful from his teachings. Jaethal spent some time at the king's court, but she then left to do whatever it was her new goddess required. She must have become a great inquisitor for Pharasma, as no one would know the ways of the undead and Urgathoa's cultists as well as a former undead cultist would. She was also seen in the company of Salim Godafar. It's unlikely the two became friends, being so different from one another, but it's a known fact that they worked together. Octavia didn't stay still for very long. Soon, she and Reg went to Numeria and started a huge slave rebellion there. They didn't manage to destroy the Technic League, but to this day, slaves speak their names with admiration, and slavers with terror. Over the course of their journey, the two grew as close as ever, leaving their quarrels and resentments behind. After returning from Numeria, Octavia settled in her mother's house and became the king's advisor and loyal companion. Rigangar left for Numeria with Octavia to start a slave rebellion. Over the journey, he really matured and learned to understand others, as well as how to control his anger. After he returned, he took a position in the king's court. Being both formidable and charming, he inspired fear in the hearts of some and lust in others. There are even some rumors that he almost talked Octavia into marrying him, and possibly even continuing the Della Fiorni line. Once the war was over, Tristan kept his promise to Sarenrae. In the middle of celebrating the king's victory, the priest suddenly disappeared in a flash of light, vanishing forever. I hope Sarenrae didn't take the Movonic Deva's memory, so her servant might still remember us and the stolen lands. Or if she did, I hope he was at least able to forget everything about the lands in which he endured so much suffering. Ekin spent a few years in the Stolen Lands, and in that time won glory as the most rugged monster hunter in all the River Kingdoms. The Ranger exterminated even the most harmless of the monsters around the capital, then moved on to other lands and new victories. They say the ruthless avenger and slayer of wild monsters made it as far as Katapesh. That's where his trail went cold. I'm afraid Ekin may have become the prey of one of his targets. Jubilost returned to the life of a traveling explorer, frequently visiting his favorite kingdom. He said so himself. His famous work studying the First World all opened with a dedication to his longtime companion, the king. Sometimes, during Jubilost's performances, all kinds of chaos would break loose. Viewers turned into unicorns, or would be teleported to the top of a cliff. Later, Jubilost would be seen arguing fiercely with a pretty gnome named Nerve. The arguments looked very sweet and intimate. As for Knock Knock, I mean Hero Knock Knock, he continued his questionably heroic efforts in the Stolen Lands. Despite whatever mess he fell into, no matter the danger he leapt into, he always seemed to scrape through just a little better off than before. Like true heroes, he simply never gave up, struggling on and meeting the challenge of each new day with a spirit that no mishap or misfortune could ever quell. Kalika has become calmer and wiser, but her friends no longer hear her singing by the fire anymore. If she does write poems, she keeps them hidden away. She doesn't quarrel with her sister, but perhaps because she's grown weary of fighting, and not because they've truly made peace. Canera's precocious spirit seems to have evaporated. She doesn't jeer and mock others as much as she used to, and her friends mourn her sharp wit. She's grown amicable with her sister, but her liveliness, emotional tantrums, and deep caring have given way to a calm, almost businesslike acceptance. The king and Valerie stayed together, lovers and companions, bound not only by love, but by common duty. The amazing union underlies dozens of ballads and poems written by delighted subjects and echoed all throughout Aveston. There's more fiction than truth in those poems, of course. Our hero and his beloved keep their relationship well behind closed doors. The only thing kept in the chronicles in the truest detail is the grand royal wedding. Valerie became a worthy and honest ruler, like anyone doubted she would. And while their subjects can't wait for an heir, the beautiful royal couple seems to be in no hurry to continue their lineage. As for myself, the author of this book, Lindsay, who never chose a pretty nickname, I'm still here, inside my creation, within the Capitol Library. I live just like I always dreamed, surrounded by people and books, and not a day goes by without someone turning my pages. My story inspired many others to take up the quill. My readers have written many beautiful books and poems, transporting prisoners of humdrum lives into worlds of endless fantasy. What more could I dream of? I hope, oh honored reader, that this story inspired some creativity in you, or at least offered some entertainment. In any case, it's time to set the final period.